26,000 workers came here every day, earning a paycheck, supporting their families, and contributing to our local economy.
That when President Franklin Delano Roosevelt came here, it was top secret. That's how important this site was to our history.
But let me tell you, we're going to be back here one day, and it's going to be really cool.
My name is Blake Huffman. I'm a Ramsey County Commissioner. I have the pleasure of serving and supporting the Arden Hills and, of course, the TCAAP property. Thank you so much for coming today. The work that we're doing right now is to clean up the property and to redevelop the property as a result of years and years of hard work. And to that extent, I want to recognize two very special people here today, former Ramsey County Commissioners Tony Bennett and Jan Parker, for their leadership. There's Tony. And there's Jan right there. Hi, Jan. Additionally, I'd like to welcome and thank for their past and present support and their current support various elected officials. Mayor of New Brighton, David Jacobson. Mayor of Little Canada, David Blesner. Joe Flaherty. Bill, thank you. Mayor of Mounds View, Joe Flaherty. My mayor, Mayor Sandy Martin. John Schaff, Mayor of North Oaks. We have lots of school board folks here. We thank you all for coming as well. And I want to also give a special welcome to Senators Bev Scalzi, Senator Susan Kent, and Representatives Joanne Ward and Barb Urusso. And Carney Bernardi. Thank you. I'd like to now introduce our first speaker of the day. Introduce Arden Hills Mayor David Grant. Mayor Grant has served as mayor since 2011 and has been an Arden Hills City Council member for 11 years prior to that. Throughout the work of the City Council in Arden Hills, and as mayor, he has been a staunch advocate for redevelopment, and we're pleased to have him here today. Welcome, David Grant. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Huffman, and thank you to everyone for being here today. The site that we're standing on today has a storied history. In 1941, as World War II was escalating, the U.S. Army started construction of the Twin Cities Army Ammunition Plant. Between 1942 and 1945, thousands of people worked here producing millions of rounds of ammunition for the war effort. In fact, at its peak, 26,000 workers came here every day, earning a paycheck, supporting their families, and contributing to our local economy. There are many people who remember working here and taking tremendous pride in supporting our troops. TCAAP was mothballed after World War II, but was called upon again during the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the First Gulf War. The Army officially declared this site in excess in 2002, and it has stood vacant ever since. This site has been quiet for far too long. For Arden Hills, TCAAP is our future. What will happen here is also important to our surrounding communities. I am excited to be part of the effort to finally make this happen, to help return this property to the economic engine it once was. As you can tell as you look around, the TCAAP site is massive. In fact, it encompasses 427 acres. TCAAP provides us with a huge opportunity to redevelop this site, create places for people to work and live, and expand our tax base, and achieve our goals as a city. Over the past 70 years, TCAAP has had and will continue to have an impact on Arden Hills and our surrounding community. I want to thank Ramsey County for partnering with Arden Hills on this project. Without their leadership and financial support, we would not be where we are today. A lot of people believe that this site would never be redeveloped, that it would remain contaminated. But we are here today to show that when we work together, we can accomplish our goals, get people back to work, and create a better Arden Hills. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. Before I introduce our next speaker, let me ask in the crowd, is there anyone in the crowd who they might have worked here at the plant, or their parents might have worked in the plant? I see a couple. I've talked with a couple. I know that. So I know this is a special day for you. I also want to take a moment and introduce my fellow commissioners. I know Commissioner Carter, Commissioner Reinhardt, Commissioner McGuire, and the last commissioner I'll introduce is the one who's going to come and speak to us next, Commissioner Rafael Ortega. He is our board chair. He was elected first to the county commission back in 1994, and you saw him battle for this site the last 2 years, and because of his work is one of the big reasons we're here today. So let me welcome Chair Rafael Ortega.
Thank you, Commissioner Huffman. Today is a great day for Ramsey County and Arden Hills. When we purchased this property, Ramsey County had 3 objectives in mind. Number 1 was to put people back to work. Number 2 was to clean up the largest polluted site in Ramsey County. And number 3 is to spur economic development for our kids in the future. Today is the beginning of that dream. We're going to accomplish that dream with partnerships. We begin with our partnership with Arden Hills. We developed the joint TCAAP, the Joint Development Agency. But we're creating partnerships with the businesses, with all the cities in the region, including St. Paul. Because what's good for Arden Hills is going to be good for St. Paul. This is a regional project. This is about the region. This is about how we become more competitive moving forward. The other partnership we're going to begin, and we had this discussion just last week, and that is how do we get community to vision with us? To vision about not how we have done things in the past, but to vision how do we create a special place out of the TCAAP, a place that is meaningful not for us, but for our kids. A place that becomes the model for the future. So I ask you to join us to create among our communities a dialogue, a conversation about how we make Arden Hills an example for not just the region, not just for Ramsey County, but in the state. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. Before I introduce our next speaker, I also want to acknowledge the Arden Hills City Council that's here. I know Councilmember Holden, Fran Holmes in the back, and Ed Werner, three fabulous council members, as well as the chair of our Joint Development Authority, David Sand. So I'll welcome all of you. Thank you. I'd like to now welcome our next speaker, Congresswoman Betty McCollum. Congresswoman McCollum is currently serving her 7th term in the U.S. House of Representatives and represents, among other areas, Arden Hills. She is an important voice in our region in Washington, helping fund projects like this, Central Corridor, Union Depot, etc. Congresswoman McCollum is a staunch advocate of job creation and economic development and is playing an important role in development and the redevelopment of TCAAP. Congresswoman?
Thank you. Boy, what an exciting day. Thank you, Commissioner. And let's hear it for the Irondale Band, who just lost their seniors. So we have new seniors, new juniors, new freshmen. Thank you so much. So we're going to have a groundbreaking. And this is the first groundbreaking that I've gone to where there's hammers instead of shovels. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. You all might want to step way back. It's good to be here with the Ramsey County Board, past and present, with all the city council members here from Arden Hills, and with the community in general, who's been so supportive and been involved in making sure that we redevelop this site right so that it really impacts positively on the whole community. But we have a next door neighbor here in the National Guard. Thank you for being here very, very much. So just imagine a couple years from now, and we might not be calling it TCAAP anymore. Might have a brand new name. It's going to be clean, it's going to be productive, it's going to be contributing back as taxable properties, and as I said, it's just going to make this whole region bloom and blossom. 70 years ago, as it was pointed out, this was a very historic site. This was a site that was so historic and treated with such that when President Franklin Delano Roosevelt came here, it was top secret. That's how important this site was to our history in fighting back the oppression that World War II was presenting the world. This is a very, very historic site. So we talked about employing. A lot of people were employed here, and I thank the past workers for showing up. But as was pointed out in the 1990s, this began to fall silent. And there are so many properties around the United States that have been former ammunition sites that have been abandoned. And they haven't had the community, state, county, local business support that Arden Hills gathered together to redevelop TCAAP with Ramsey County. This is a huge success story. And Senator Klobuchar and Senator Franken and I will do our very best to work in partnership to make sure that the U.S. government's commitment is fulfilled if anything should arise here. So another piece of history is my predecessor, Congressman Vento. When this site was becoming abandoned, he pulled the community together, and he was dedicated to having a cleanup that would benefit the community. Since 2001, my staff and I have invested, let me say, a not insignificant amount of time working with the Army, local officials, developers, neighbors, environmental groups. But one milestone that I think we can all celebrate as Minnesotans that I'm proud to have an involvement in was the no-cost transfer of the Rice Creek corridor from the Army to Ramsey County for the regional park system, opening up that vital link. I want to take a second, and maybe it's already in the program, but there were a couple people who were very, very important to my office being successful in doing this. And these are people who work behind the scenes, who usually get no credit, and they never want to take any credit. But I want to take a moment to acknowledge Mike Fix of the U.S. Army, who worked for years and years and years as a professional public servant. Mike has been the resident TCAAP expert, the go-to guy whenever we got stuck. Thank you, Mike, for all your work on behalf of all of us. Greg Mack, who didn't run away when I said I'm from the federal government and I'm here to give you some parkland for only a few minutes for free, who worked with us to make sure that we took care of the contamination to do that. But there was another person who was involved working along with Major General Richard Natch, who's the Adjutant General of the National Guard. A longtime Guard staffer. His name, Mike Hammernick, devoted countless hours here, and I'm grateful for his expertise. And he's one of the reasons why the Guard has been the keeper of the wildlife corridor, and even, when possible, move their tank maneuvers around the Blandon turtle. So there are a lot of heroes here. Everybody who's part of this community, you're a hero. This is a treasure. It's going to bring back not only economic development, but a lifetime and generations of recreational opportunity. Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to Ramsey County for your leadership on this. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Congresswoman McCollum, for your leadership on this and so many other projects, and it's fun to hear your passion and your connection to this property for so many years. I'd now like to introduce Senator Amy Klobuchar. The senator has been a big fan of economic development and continues to work hard in Washington for issues like this. We're honored that she was able to come here today. Senator? Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, everyone. Wow. What a great day. This was long in coming. I look at these kids, and they weren't even born when people started working on this. I know in addition to the great commissioners we have behind me that former Commissioner Parker and Bennett are here, and when I walked in, he actually said that he started working on this when I was still in college, okay? So we know this has been a long time in coming and wouldn't have happened without the people here. We look at this really in two ways. One, this is the last remaining big Superfund site in the state, the biggest one left that's going to be cleaned up. When I look at these kids, they probably don't even know what Superfund is, but this is something that's not fun, okay? It's a Superfund site, which means it needs to be cleaned up because it has some contaminants and other things, and this is going to give us the opportunity to do it. The second thing, which so many people have mentioned, is the potential for economic development. At one point, at its height, 26,000 people were employed on this site. There's a few of them here today, but think about that, 26,000 people. And they were doing incredible work, as Betty mentioned. They were doing the work of World War II, manufacturing the 30 and 50 caliber cartridges. Beginning in 1942 to the end of the war, the plant had produced more than 4 billion rounds. 4 billion rounds. So you think of these 23,000 people that worked here. And when I look at these young kids, many of them involved in the STEAM program at Mounds View, right? With science, technology, engineering, math, and arts, they want to have jobs that are here too. And this is our great opportunity to finally not have an abandoned site, but at a time where the economy is finally picking up speed. In Minnesota, it just came out today, last year had its best year ever. We have economic opportunity, and we want to give it to these kids. So I just want to thank, first of all, Congresswoman McCollum, who's been a leader on this for so long. Let's hear it for her again. We are a good pair. Yeah, people don't want to mess with us when we go forward, but I think Betty knows and Al knows that we're going to have to get as much help as we can as well with road projects in this area and others as we look to develop it, that there's going to be future needs for this besides what's going on today. The local officials, the mayors, I heard there's 5 mayors here, or former mayors, the city council members, the county commissioners, the legislators. This was a joint effort, and it took a lot of time and work. But let me tell you, we're going to be back here one day, and it's going to be really cool. And we're going to remember this moment when there were some fireworks, and we had these big sledgehammers. And it doesn't look that romantic, but it will be in the future. So thank you, everyone, for your good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator, for your kind words and also for your leadership on this issue. I'd like to take a moment and now transition to a different part of our program and recognize Keystone Food Shelf. Keystone is a nonprofit that's been doing tremendous work in this area for many, many years. I'd like to invite Mark Ryan, the president of Bolander and Sons, as well as Christine Pulver with Keystone, up to the stage.
Hi, Christine. Hi. On behalf of Carl Bolander and Sons, EnviroBait, Bay West, Mavo, and Wink and Associates, and all of the men and women of our companies that have the opportunity to work on this site, we would like to provide $5,000 to the food shelf and in appreciation for all the opportunity we have here. Thank you.
Commissioner Ortega mentioned partnerships, and our partnership with Bolander and Sons and all the other groups out here has been tremendous, and thank you, Mark, for that. We're going to transition now to the next part of our program, and it's going to be for those that are into more action. This will be a little bit more fun. But first, let me thank Bolander again, but specifically for their role in demolition and for what we're about to see here in just a few moments.